A concussion is where there is enough impact on the head or body that causes the brain to bounce back and forth inside the skull. According to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, it is also referred to as a trauma-induced change in mental status. The definition is broad, and the signs and symptoms of a concussion vary. This occurs when two heads collide or even during a car accident where there is enough impact to cause your brain to bounce like a beach ball inside your head. During this time, the brain is elongating, which evidently causes the concussion. Your brain is a soft organ and is surrounded by spinal fluid acting as a cushion. The impact of the brain hitting the skull with enough force causes injury. Although concussions may vary, some brains may go through neuronal depolarization, excitation of neurotransmitters, and, in serious cases, internal bleeding. However, many athletes may receive a concussion which may or may not be obvious to the human eye. Some athletes black out, some get nausea and vomiting, or have short-term memory loss. It is important to note, however, that even though you may not have any of these symptoms, one may still suffer a concussion after impact. Second impact syndrome is when an athlete returns to a game or physical activity and receives further brain trauma while not being fully recovered from their initial concussion. This is very rare, yet very serious brain injury. It has been estimated that 50% of athletes actually die after suffering from SIS. The rest suffer from permanent damage, which results in lifelong effects. Some even take days to recover, others take weeks. It is thus vital for athletes to take extra precaution after receiving a concussion.
In appraising the effects of traumatic sports-related injuries, rather than assuming a nosological and pathophysiological difference between acute and persistent syndromes, or between the effects of single versus multiple injuries, it may be more useful to study this phenomenon as a spectrum which acknowledges the fact that some athletes will recover more or less immediately, others within weeks, and some may never recover from the injury. Particular symptoms include somatic complaints such as headache, sleep disturbance, dysarthria, gait disturbance, incoordination, among many other symptoms. Other negative effects may include memory loss, neurological deficits, cognitive impairments, aggression, anxiety, and many other symptoms. Contributing to the problem of sports-related injuries are economic and cultural barriers to any substantial changes in popular sports rules or techniques of play. As a result, sports and recreation-related injuries account for 10% of major trauma cases in Ontario hospitals on an annual basis. Provincial legislation requires public health units to deliver injury prevention programs. However, currently there is secondary and tertiary prevention with little focus on primary prevention to prevent sports-related injuries, which can prevent them from occurring in the first place. Now we will turn to a case study which illustrates the problems associated with sports-related injuries. So we have a 19-year-old female athlete from the NCAA who plays soccer and is referred by her trainer for clinical evaluation. The player has been suffering failing grades and reports frequent headaches and brief episodes of intense sadness and anxiety. She also admits to disturbed sleep and difficulty staying focused on her tasks. Her symptoms began a few months ago after going for a header in practice and colliding head-to-head with a teammate.
Prevention, specifically in football and hockey. To start, we take a look at Dante Robinson's illegal hit to the head. As you can see, he leads with his helmet, making a helmet-to-helmet hit, which is considered an illegal hit. Football head injury prevention starts with coaches taking measures to teach players proper and safe blocking and hitting in practice. Coaches and officials should discourage players from using the top of their football helmets as batting rams when blocking, hitting, tackling, and ball carrying. Coaches, physicians, and trainers should ensure that players' equipment is properly fitted, especially the helmet, and that straps are always locked. Spearing, which is hitting another player with the crown of the helmet, is illegal in football, and there is a rule that prohibits it. Prohibiting spearing should be enforced in practice and in games. Leading with the helmet can not only injure other players, but can also injure yourself. In this video, you see Anthony O'Connor lead with his head, and end up breaking his own neck. Hockey head prevention injury starts with wearing proper fitted equipment from mouth guards to helmets. Hockey Canada adopted a new penalty for the 2002-2003 season that enforced that all levels of play within Hockey Canada prohibit checking to the head. Beginning in 1985 to 1986 season, Hockey Canada introduced a new rule to eliminate checking from behind. Fighting is another aspect of the game that can cause serious head injuries, but there is difficulty in taking it away in the NHL. Minor leagues, however, there are stricter rules towards fighting. In this clip, you can see Mark Savard make a hit considered illegal in all levels of hockey, as he makes contact with his opponent's head. Locker boxing, or also known as buckets and gloves, is also something that has arisen in amateur hockey and is a great concern in minor hockey in Canada. Players put on helmets and gloves with an intention of boxing and punching each other, often in the head. Hockey Canada does not condone this type of behavior or any other type of fighting between players either on or off the ice. With increased awareness and education concerning concussions in sports, it is becoming more apparent that any type of blow to the head area has a potential to cause severe injury regardless of whether or not the player is wearing a helmet. Concussion injuries can cause lengthy loss of playing time and end players' careers. And recent evidence suggests that cumulative effects of multiple concussions can have a detrimental effect on the lives of young athletes in the long term. Coaches should be aware of this and have team rules against locker room boxing. Another significant component of preventing this type of behavior in the dressing room or any team function is proper team supervision. Hockey Canada stresses the importance of players being supervised at all times during team activities to help ensure a safe environment. Say no to buckets and gloves.